the most successful music producer of our generation, a creative genius who helped launch the careers of Juggy D and Jay Sean, amongst many others. Our guest today is no other than our very own British homegrown talent, Rishi Rich. Welcome to our show, Rishi.
Thank you very much.
I just want to say I know that you have been so busy and we literally had to kind of bully you into doing this interview. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, Rishi, I think really you need no introduction. Everybody knows your name in the music industry. And you're a big producer, done very well. However, you started at a very young age. I believe it was only, you were 4 or 5 years old when you started your training in classical music. Mm-hmm. That's very young, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I grew up in a very musical family, you know, in South London, in Croydon. And my grandma, actually, she was, you know, very much into like Indian harmonium and tabla and rags. And every Saturday night, you know, from when I was born, you know, when I could go to like, you know, my family parties and stuff, you know, all my uncles used to play guitar and bongos, and I just really got into music that way. And, you know, my grandma, you know, Daddy Mo started saying, look, you know, I'm going to teach you harmonium. And I started to learn harmonium from the age of 4.
What's your earliest memory of music? Were you like 4?
I think definitely living in Croydon. I remember my mum buying me a Casio keyboard, and I remember, you know, learning that and just trying to listen to songs. I know for a fact that when I was young, I could listen to music and, you know, replica it on the keyboard. And sitting in Croydon, you know, with my grandma, and, you know, she's teaching me, you know, rags and stuff, and me just kind of learning. You know.
But do you feel it was your mother's initiative that that you were inclined towards music, or was that something that you were really interested in as a child?
No, I think it was. You know, I don't think a parent can force a child, you know, to kind of do what they want them to do. It was because I really loved music. You know, I used to listen to music all the time. I used to bang on the tables, and I think if I remember. The reason why my mother probably bought me a keyboard is because I was probably playing my cousin's keyboard or something like that, you know. And then she realised that this is what I want to do. And I think for, especially an only child, it's a good way of keeping your child out of mischief.
Your mother was a single mom, and she raised you on her own. Did you feel the absence of a father growing up, or do you think she made up for it?
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. She was, you know, she was my mum and, you know, and my dad in that sense, because I think it's a same thing as people say, oh, do you miss not having a brother or sister? But if you don't know, then you don't know what it feels like, you know. So you know, for me, you know, I loved, you know, kind of being an only child because I had my own space, you know, I had my own, you know, I was in my room and I was actually in my own world, you know, and for the fact
you got all the attention.
I got all the attention. I think, obviously, if it's just me and mum, it's a case of like, you know, she would give me, not like being spoiled, but, you know, if she thought this is what I needed, then I would have that. I never, till this day, have ever, you know, thought, oh, you know, I didn't get this or I didn't get that.
Were you guys very close?
Yeah, we still are. Amazing close, yeah.
And she must be very proud of you.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, when you were doing your classical training, you trained for 10 years. That's a long time.
Yes.
You were very persistent.
Yes. When my mum...
Or rather, I should say the word disciplined.
I think disciplined is probably the right way, because when my mum and dad got divorced, I moved from South London to West London.
How old were you then?
I was 6 then. And I enrolled in Khalsa College, which was, you know, I don't know why my mum enrolled me in Khalsa College, but, you know, she wanted me to learn to speak Punjabi properly. And
what's Khalsa College?
Khalsa College, Khalsa is like, obviously, you know, part of the Sikh religion. It's, you know, it's the founding body of how Sikhism was started through the Khalsa. So Khalsa College was set up in Harrow, and you could go there on Saturdays and you could learn to write Punjabi, read it, religious studies, and there was a music section as well where you could learn, you know, music. You could learn harmonium, tabla, and I used to go there, and a teacher from India called Neera Markandi was teaching.
Yes.
And, you know, obviously I used to go there every Saturday, but she really took a liking to me because I think, you know, I was picking up things really quick. and she was like, you need private, tuition. So I started to have private tuition like 3-4 times a week.
So how did you venture into music producing?
Okay, well, like I said, I moved into Harrow, and it was an amazing kind of time for me because I discovered about music composition. The Casio keyboards that were out at that time, you could sequence. People who know about music will know that you could make beats and you could make chords and you could, you could construct like a 4-bar loop of just music, and this was amazing. I was like 12 years old. I was like, wow, this is amazing, And at the time, there was a record come out called Aja Re Aja, and it was really different, by the Jets Orchestra. And I remember going to Southall with my mum and picking the vinyl up and saying, who did this? And I turned it over, and it was produced in Harrow in this recording studio by this guy called Pankaj. And I phoned him up and I said, can I drop a demo to you? And at that time, I was in school, and one of my friends, Dharmash, he was basically, he wanted to sing. So I said, look, just sing Ye Dosti, and we'll record it on this 4-track I had, and I'll just do music, and we'll just put a demo down on cassette. And I remember walking down to Pankaj's studio and giving him that cassette, and literally 24 hours later, he's saying, look, I want you to come and work with me.
How old were you?
13,
but
14.
At 15, you got to produce your own album.
Yeah, so I started to work in that studio, and I started to learn about music. I never worked on a computer, So he had an Atari ST with a program called Hybrid Arts, which eventually became Cubase. And I learned about music sequencing, So by 15, I produced my first album, and I was going to India to record with Kumar Sanu and people like that. And I was like...
But that must have been huge for someone who's just 15.
It was crazy.
Now, your innovative style of mixing R&B and Bhangra, it was a huge success. So when you produce your music, what do you work on? Instinct?
Yeah.
What drives you?
Yeah, it's definitely a feeling.
But wasn't it a bit risky mixing? Because what you did was revolutionary. At that particular point, people weren't mixing the two.
No.
And did you not think, they'll laugh at me? Or, this will not be accepted? Or it's just... too different.
No, I
because
never
it wasn't a formula that worked because nobody had tried it before.
Well, one person, I think, someone like Biddu who did Kung Fu fighting, then he did Star and Kurbani. He was I would say he was one of the first people to really venture out and try new sounds. For me, being a British Asian, and funny enough, I'm working with him now, but Johnny Z, aka Taz from Stereo Nation, he came out with Hunta Me Nachna, hit the deck. And I remember when he came out with that, musically, there was a little bit of dol and tabla, but, it was very westernized.
Yeah.
And his voice was very high-pitched, and his
Stereo Nation were a huge success.
But before Stereo Nation, he was Johnny Z. So if anyone knows, he had this massive song called Hunta Me Nachna, and I remember I was in school, and we all had this cassette, Hit the Deck. And I was like, what is this music, Obviously, you had Apache Indian doing his stuff and Bali Sagu doing his stuff, but this I relate to because musically it was very different. So for me, my music has always reflected where, what I'm surrounded by. I've grown up with obviously my mother who loves R.D. Burman, but loves Elvis and loves James Brown, Now,
you were the first Asian music producer to break through and work with the mainstream. And, you worked with artists such as Craig David, you worked with Britney Spears, you worked with Ricky Martin, Madonna. What was that experience like?
It's weird because only now I can look back at it and say, wow, that was pretty cool.
They were huge stars. Were you intimidated at all?
No, because it would be different if you were working with someone and they said, okay, show me what you can do. I want to put you to the test. They're like, all these artists you mentioned...
You were relatively very young at that point.
Yes, but all these artists you mentioned, they came to me and they said, we want what you're doing.
Now, you have been known as the guy with the golden fingers. You're amazing on the piano. And you've also, you have a knack for spotting talent. And you launched the careers of stars like Jagidi and Jay Sean. How and when did you meet them?
I met them roughly at the same time, and it was amazing because at that time You see, the thing is that if people know me from my Too Cool days, I was always looking for talent. You know, like people like Dondi and Funky Man and all these people, Neffy, all these people that came to me, you know, I had taken them on. And the same applied to when I met Juggy. You know, when I met Juggy, it was like, you know, I like your vibe and let's just get in the studio.
Did you instantly know that you know, they have that
I mean, I think a lot of producers would have turned him down because when he done his demo, he didn't sound amazing. He didn't look like a complete superstar or the way, you know, his rock star image he portrays now. He just looked like an average guy, just an average guy. And for me, it was like, okay, I can see something there. And I've applied that, you know, yes, I mean, I don't know what it is, but I see that. I saw that in Jay, I saw that in Juggy, I seen that in H, I saw that in Mumsy, I saw that in so many artists that I've launched and taken on.
It must have been difficult though when you put the two together and you made your first single together. How did you get your big break?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think there's ever a big break in this industry. I think you just roll with it. You just go with whatever happens, you know. And it's just it's an escalator. You just keep on going up and up and up, you know. And I think the first big step for me was, when we did Dance With You, you know, we didn't realise how big it was until 8 or 9 months later, you know, because we released a song. You know, we released it. I remember at that time we didn't have things like YouTube and things like that, you know. This was 2002. So we just released it on the underground. I remember we were going around Harrow and, you know, fly posting and it was very organic. And I think and that's what's missing now. And I always believe when you release something, let the music just do your talking.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need to force people to buy stuff.
So did you have a huge female fan base?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Or were you a ladies' man?
I was never anyone's man.
Really?
Do you know what I mean? I was music man. And that's the truth.
Who was the most popular?
Jay was definitely, I think Jay and Juggy were definitely, you know, the most popular. And I did kind of, obviously for me, I was like, okay, this is great, but, you know, I'm here as well, do you know what I mean? I'm done the music, but I kind of realized, you know what? This is my time to really take my position within this group. Because we were a boy band, you know. As much as they probably, you know, no one will probably admit it, but we were the first Asian boy band apart from B21, I think. So everyone had their kind of role, everyone had their, you know, fans. I mean, I had my fans, but the fans I had were, and not in a bad way, I had guys because people who like, we love what you do, we want to be a musician like you, what do you use, what equipment do you, and I had people like following worship, you know, literally saying, you know, we really just want to be like you. That for me is like, it's amazing because I never had that.
So you didn't have any of those, you know,
I had
phone
fans.
calls or groupies or stalkers or.
I had stalkers here and there and stuff.
Oh, you did?
That. Yeah, I did have stalkers. Yeah, but it was very much controlled because you got to remember one thing. I never got into this industry for that. You know, I've got no interest in being famous. You know, I never have. You know, my music is what I want to be famous.
But fame comes with
it. It comes with it, yes, of course. But then you just got to learn how to handle it.
But is there a dark side to fame?
I've seen people have a dark side, yeah.
What's the dark side?
It's you can get caught up in your, you know, in your own ego. You start believing the hype. You know, you have a lot of yes men around you. You know, so but it all depends on what kind of character you are.
Rishi, we'll take a short break. See you soon. Welcome back. We'll continue our conversation with Rishi Rich. Now, your music was featured on Top of the Pops and CD UK, and you also produced the title track for the Indian movie, for a very popular Indian movie, Hum Tum. From mainstream to Bollywood, was it difficult cracking these two markets?
I guess it was, a lot of people played a part in that, in the sense where musically there was no difference to what I was doing. You know, so it was a case of, it was just being at the right place and, you know, getting the attention of people like Yash Raj from what we'd been doing.
What was your experience like working on Hum Tum?
It was no difference to working on a track for, you know, what we did. That's the thing, my experience, it was the same. I loved making music. I loved making Hum Tum, you know, the track, as much as I loved working.
But it's a different kind of music.
No, not really. Because, you know, Hum Tum and Dance Review have got the same kind of groove, you know, there's English, there's Punjabi, it's got the same kind of, you know, it's not, I wouldn't say, it's not Bollywood, it's just, it's got my sound. So it's a case of like, you know, it's the same formula, you know, and the same experience I had making both records.
Why did you later part with your record label, 2.9?
I think it was a case of like, you know, you come to a situation where, you know, you can only do so much with people that you work with, especially when they hold their hand up and say, you know what, we've taken you now as far as we can. Now it's about time, you know, and, you know, for you to do your own thing. And I've always wanted to set up my own production company, hence I set up Rishi Rich Productions. So that was the reason why.
What was the idea behind Rishi Rich Productions?
You know, for me, Rishi Rich Productions was just a thing where I wanted to do, you know. You know, by that time, I was established. You know, I've got a brand, you know, it's very hard to build a brand name, I think, in this, you know, in any industry, any field. Once you've built up your brand name, it's a great thing to have a brand, one. So for me, it was like, okay, well, I'm just going to just venture out now and, you know, see how it is signing artists. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm going to sign H-Dami, I'm going to do the videos for him, I'm going to style him, I'm going to...
But you like nurturing new
I love nurturing that, but I had a team, but this way it was just me and, you know, my business partner at the time. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to sign a Bengali artist because, you know, I remember, you know, being at Basaki Mela, and I remember all these artists, I remember there's so much talent, and they are part of our industry. You know, they are part of it, and I wanted to take a Bengali artist and, you know, and really kind of exploit him or her singing in Bengali and mixing it with R&B, and that's what I did with Mumsy.
So Rishi, one thing I've discovered, A, during the interview, and B, while I was researching you, you're quite a private guy. Why is that?
I think I'm not private in the sense like amongst my family and friends.
It's very black and white with you. There's no grey.
No, I think it's a case of like you know, I love music, but it's my job. You know, it's what I love doing. It's my work, and I do music because of music. I don't do it for any other reason.
But you haven't given many interviews. Why is that? For being one of the, you know, most well-known Asian music producers in the UK, to not have given that many interviews.
I get asked to do a lot of interviews, but I think, you know, I don't know. I guess I let my music talk. You know, I kind of like to be behind the scenes. You know, it's a question. I don't know really why. I mean, I think I just love being in the studio, and I love having my life.
Are you shy?
Yeah, I think, you know, I used to be shy when I was young, but like, hence, like this interview's been great because
really
we've talked
Please
about,
tell.
you know, we've talked about things which matter to me. You know, which I can explain about, I can talk about. And some of the recent interviews I've done, and I've probably only done 2 or 3, they've been very kind of, you know, interesting interviews where I've made music in front of a camera. I've talked about, you know, the artists I've worked with. You know, for me, an interview should be, you know, about, you know, what you do and your opinion.
You know, I believe it's just people are intrigued to find out who the man is behind the music producer. So who is that guy? What makes you tick?
I don't know. I think my life, everything that I do, everything, you know, everything I produce and everything I make is, you know, represents my life. I think, you know, represents how I'm feeling.
Describe yourself in 3 words. I'll use layman terms.
Oh no. Loving, definitely. You know, focused and, you know, humble.
So loving, focused, and humble.
But then if you're humble, you wouldn't say you're humble, so I don't know. Just you know, just me, you know, just everything's a vibe, everything's just got to be positive, and positive, definitely, you know.
You recently got married.
Yes.
How did you meet your wife?
Well, Manrina, we met last year, but I've known her since we were, you know, since we were children.
So why did you wait so long?
I don't know. You need to ask our mums, man. I don't know. We always say we should have got together when we were young. But you know what? It's one of those things where...
Was it an arranged marriage?
No, it wasn't. I mean, it was a case of like, we are family friends. We've seen each other kind of grow up. We lost touch when, you know, in our 20s, you know, so she went on and became an amazing cosmetic dentist, you know, and she done great things in her field, kind of parallel to what I did, you know, worked very hard, became quite, you know, very successful, traveled. And then we kind of met again, and it was a case of like, you know, we both kind of figured out that we both really liked each other when we were young, when we used to see each other at family parties. And it was like, you're not married, I'm not married, and let's just see if this can work, you know?
But your wedding was a huge affair.
It was, yeah.
And for someone who's as private and shy as you, why did you decide to televise your wedding?
One, I wanted to show off my beautiful wife.
Okay.
I think, secondly, I mean, I think for me it was a case of, I actually did change, you know. Just before I, met Marina and got married, my life took a bit of a turn in a sense where I had a lot of health issues. You know, I went to America and I just stayed there for a little while, and I came back, and I really changed everything around me, the people around me. I changed, you know, even my image changed because I was put on, you know, I was put on stroke alert, you know,
really?
in 2010, yeah. And, you know, it was because of my lifestyle, you know, because I was single and I was partying and I was working, and it was just crazy. It was crazy. So it was a case of like, okay, I'm just going to switch off. I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing. I'm going to go to America and I'm just going to live there for a bit. So, and then I came back, and when I got back, I think I became like, you know what? I've built this brand up, Rishi Rich.
Yeah.
You know, every Asian around the world knows that name, you know.
Yeah.
And I had to kind of say that to myself. You know, I had to say that I've built this name. This name is globally well known. People may not, I can walk down the street, people don't recognize me sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, which is great, because it's not about me, it's about that brand. So now I'm going to make it about me. I'm really going to focus on me and my brand and focus on my life. And I thought, one, you know, marriage was something, you know, I've obviously wanted to get married, but I wanted to wait for the right person. So when I met Marina, I was like, okay, this is it. There's no question. Even on the first day, I was like, we're getting married. She was like, yep.
Really?
Yeah, it was that. It was very kind of, that 2011 was a year of like, you know what, we're just going to go, we're going to go with this, we're going to roll with whatever.
Did it, I mean, because you were unwell, did it take that to make you change your whole perception towards life?
Of course, yeah. I mean, I came back with a loss, you know, with a lot of, with less fewer friends around me when I came back, and less fewer artists around me when I came back, you know. I left, before I went to America, I left with all these people around me, everyone, all these artists saying, yeah, Rish, this. When I came back, I left with just a few artists who really now I've seen that they were there for me.
And what's the future for
The future is
Rishi
amazing.
Rich?
It's amazing. I mean, I can't really express because of, you know, like I said, you know, I've just signed to Kick It Entertainment, who manage Prince.
Yes.
And they are my official American management. You know, we're going to LA together. You know, you never know what's going to happen. You know, I'm going because I'm just going to go with the flow, and, you know, I'm going with, you know, with my wife, and we're going to go, and I'm just going to enjoy myself. I've got my studio there. And then I've signed a deal with, you know, in India with a company who manage Hrithik Roshan, Bipasha, Saif Ali Khan, you know, and I'm the first producer that they've taken on.
Yes.
You know, so I'm going to be, so it's a case of like, you guys are managing me. But I'm now going to leave it to you, and let's see what can happen. You know, so I'm just like, you know, I'm just kind of like, just really going to enjoy the whole America, UK, India triangle thing.
Is your health okay? Are you
Yeah,
okay now?
yeah.
Well, I sincerely wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And I hope that America is a huge success.
Thank you.
And you deserve all the best.
Thank you.
You've done so well here, and I'm sure you'll do equally well in the US. Thank you so much. But before we go, I have, on a lighter note, some quick rapid fire questions.
Okay.
You may not like some of them, I'm just warning you. So you just have to pick your least favorite.
Okay.
Chamcha or chamak challo?
Chamcha then.
Chamcha. Kabaddi or kickboxing?
Kickboxing.
Wags or groupies?
Wags.
Rapping or rave?
Rapping.
Jalebi or gulab jamun?
Jalebi.
Lips or hips?
Bits.
Lips or hips?
Lips.
Lips. Divya Balan or Priyanka Chopra?
Divya.
Double D or natural?
Natural.
Puppies or Jappies?
Jappies.
Jay Sean or Bali Sagoo?
Jay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's such a joy interviewing you. I'm so glad you could come today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Did you always aspire to be as successful as you are today?
No, actually, I really didn't. I hope we're past all of that. I hope we're past that as women in the workplace, that we don't have to be nasty, witchy people. If you think about it, you'll go bonkers, so you try not to think about it. You just take every day as it comes.